right, so today's presentation, Muscle Strength, Power, and Balance Program for Active Aging. I thank you all for coming here. As we know, ideally, as we get older, we now have hopefully some more time on our hands. If we are stepping away from work or are retired, we have hopefully some exciting things that we like to do and engage in, whether it's travel, physical activity, spending more time with family. Really, that's this concept of the golden years, enjoying that last sort of chapter or chapters of life and engaging in things that really are meaningful to us. And certainly we cannot enjoy our golden years if our body is not allowing us to do the things that we want to be able to do. One of the reasons why you're members of this facility is to try to ensure that your body is taken care of to the point that you can still engage in life. That unfortunately is not always what happens, however. We know that there's a lot of surveys that happen about every 10 years by the AARP. About 20 years ago, older adults really just said they wanted to spend time at home, save money, give money to their family, but really they were sort of content being homebodies. Things have changed a lot. Okay? The baby boomer generation is now a little bit more like, I want to go out and enjoy life with my family or with my spouse or with my friends and engage in new activities, engage in new adventures, travel, and just get as much out of life as possible. We kind of call those memorable experiences. So how many of you have taken a bucket list travel experience in the last, say, 2 years? Are we doing some bucket lists? All right. So about half the people in here. How many of you have a bucket list of travel destinations you would like to take? Okay. How many of you guys have a bucket list of activities you want to do? Okay. Things you want to continue to engage in? Fantastic. So we need to have a functional body to be able to do that. And I can tell you, after all the years that I've been working with older adults, wimpy programs aren't going to do it. Okay, this is a 1 pound set of dumbbells, which not surprisingly, are pink. We call it shrink it and pink it. Lifting 1 pound weights is not going to make you strong enough to be able to put your suitcase in the overhead bin. Lifting 1 pound weights isn't going to be enough to help you climb, the steps in Rome. Not even enough to be able to lift your groceries and just live your life at home effectively. Certainly not going to allow you to play the best pickleball of your life or the best golf of your life or pick up a grandkid unless it's a little pipsqueak infant. And they're not even 1 pound. They're like 9 pounds. So 1 pound weights are really not going to do it. But unfortunately, as I think a problem with the way that society tends to view people who are older, it's a kid's glove perspective. We don't want to hurt older people when we train them. So let's make their programs as easy as possible. Also, programs like Sit and Be Fit. Who wants to sit all the time? Hopefully, being fit allows us to be on our feet and doing ideally some really active stuff, not just walking, but moving quickly, moving powerfully. And that's all what is part of a truly well-rounded training program for people as we get older. And now I'm in my mid-50s and I'm starting to really focus on these priorities as well. And what I can tell you is that the research that's been coming out most recently that kind of is revealing what happens in the body with exercise. It's kind of weird to think that something I do with the muscles of my legs can make my brain work better.
Absolutely.
My brain's not a muscle, right? So how does that work? Is exercise magic that somehow when I engage in it, it has all these amazing effects in the body? No, it's actually chemistry. When we exercise, and generally it's exercising at an intensity that the muscles are challenged by, those muscles produce chemicals that then go out around the body and help all the other tissues and organs in our body. there are 300 different chemicals produced by a high intensity training program that aren't produced by eating a lot of antioxidant foods, by taking a nice relaxing walk, by getting a good night's sleep, by doing mindfulness meditation. A lot of those 300 chemicals only come and are produced in the body, in the muscles during exercise. So we really don't have a substitute for exercise that makes you exert yourself a little bit, and then the power of those adaptations that can happen, whether it's to your brain, whether it's to other muscles in your body, whether it's your heart, your liver, your gut, all of these different tissues that benefit from you making somewhat vigorous. I'm not going to say mega vigorous, but a somewhat vigorous training program kind of part of your life. So it's not magic, it's chemistry. And there's a couple of great articles. I'll be happy to share them with you. There are a couple of links that are on this PDF. Has it been sent? You guys might want to log on to your mobile devices, and hopefully you see the PDF of this presentation. You can sort of follow along. Coming from you, Wendy, or generations? Coming from generations. All right. And unfortunately, those 1 pound weights or doing a sit and be fit exercise class, they're not going to produce those 300 chemicals because they're really intensity dependent. You might get 5 chemicals instead of 300. So, and those 5 chemicals are not going to have the same amount of effect, beneficial effect on the body. Okay. There was a study done back in 2017 by cell biologists. These are not kinesiology people. These are cell biology kind of geeky people. Okay. They have no skin in the game to show that exercise is the bee's knees. They've looked at older adults responding to low intensity walking exercise, moderate intensity resistance training, or higher intensity, high intensity training, which included kind of interval training. And they found that the body by far responded to the greatest degree in people who were doing the higher intensity exercise. So intensity needs to be a bit of a focus that oftentimes we're a little concerned or nervous about engaging in because, I've been told that I could hurt my knee, I could hurt my back. I've been told that might give me chest pain, make me short of breath. Pretty sure that as long as you're not dealing with an uncontrolled challenge condition, little bursts of intensity, you're going to be just fine. Okay. You're going to be okay. How do I know that? Well, I've worked with some pretty challenged populations, and they respond generally very well to a more intense training program. Now, what happens if we don't do enough? Do you guys have the PDF? Good, fantastic. This is what's called an aging curve. That was popularized by a guy on the East Coast, Joe Signorelli. He's at University of Miami Medical Center. And basically it shows that as we're growing up, everything's getting better. You don't need, you can be, on your, you can be playing your video games all day, and you can still be sitting playing your video games, but you're getting stronger. Your heart's getting more powerful because the growth and maturation process allows our body to get better. During midlife, hopefully we maintain that function, but at some point we start noting that our body's systems and functional capacities start to decrease. The rate of that decrease really depends on how well we take care of our body. Okay. So the rate of loss of bone mineral density, which many females, postmenopausal females, are concerned about osteopenia and osteoporosis. The more active we are, pre-menopause, perimenopause, and postmenopause, the better we're going to be able to maintain that bone mass. Everybody should be concerned about muscle strength because muscle strength has such far-reaching implications, not just on lifting things or carrying things, but it has a major impact on glucose control, much higher rate of diabetes. You don't have a lot of muscle because that's what consumes the glucose. Much higher rate of bad outcomes following things like injuries and illnesses if we don't have enough muscle mass. So we need to maintain muscle mass as we get older. If that doesn't happen and that drops off at a fast rate, we've got problems. I always get worried when a nice older person comes into a program that I'm running. They were referred by their doctor and they sort of proudly say, "Oh, I've lost 10 pounds in the last year." When you reach a certain age, you do not want to be losing a lot of weight because unfortunately, the weight that's being lost is skeletal muscle. And the loss of skeletal muscle has really, really, really bad implications. So, weight stable is kind of hopefully what we're aiming for when we're in our 70s, 80s, even in our 60s. I mean, I'm like 195. I'm hopeful that I'm 195 when I'm 65 instead of 55 this year. I want to maintain that body weight in order to ensure that I maintain my mass. And if we don't do enough, and if we do lose function, eventually we reach a disability threshold. That functional capacity gets lower than the threshold where something bad could happen to us. So maybe the threshold for bone mineral density is a fracture. If your bone mineral density drops below a certain amount, next time you fall, that's when your hip, your wrist, your spine, your lumbar spine sustains a fracture. Okay. Maybe your cardiovascular fitness, when you go below that threshold, that's the first time you have significant chest pain and you have some issue with potentially coronary artery disease really becoming at the forefront for your life. Perhaps it's cognitive function, right? As soon as you hit that threshold, as your cognition kind of drops, then perhaps you're now more at risk for non-independent living because of advanced dementia. So we want to protect all of those different functional capacities from reaching that threshold, their own individual thresholds of potential disability. The only way we can do that is trying to have a diverse training program. Okay, that's big time key. And really, what happens, guys, is instead of this thought that there's a nice slow loss, oh, I noticed that my endurance isn't what it used to be. I noticed my strength isn't what it used to be. Slowly, my knee has started to bother me. And now, a year down the line, I'm really struggling with my knee. Typically, what happens are a series of unfortunate events. How many of you know somebody who it just seems like bad things keep happening to that person? Okay. It's like, oh my gosh, this person can't catch a break. The problem is very often each of those problems precipitate the next one, right? Somebody has back pain that starts bothering them in their 50s or 60s. That back pain causes them to become a lot less active. And next thing you know, they're losing muscle mass in their legs, they're losing muscle strength in their lower body. Then, a couple of years later, they have a devastating fall, which breaks their hip. And then as they're trying to come back from that, unfortunately, they've still got all these other things that have previously happened. It's very difficult to rehabilitate to the point that they were before these bad things started to happen. And eventually, unfortunately, it ends usually in a person being permanently disabled and having a rough time near the end of life. We want to reduce the time that we stay sick in life. We want to increase health span, the number of healthy years that we live, and decrease sick span, the number of unhealthy years that we live. Fortunately, right now, sick span is about 12 years on average for an American. The last 12 years of the average American's life is being affected significantly. Not just, oh, I go to my cardiologist twice a year and they, just make sure that my stents are holding up. We're talking sick span where people are dealing with significant disabling conditions that majorly affect their quality of life. It would be nice to get that. I mean, if I only made it to 83, if 82 and a half of those years are good, I'll be like, right, it's great. I'd rather than make it 90 and the last life being okay. That's hopefully what all of our goals are. So, but the question is, of course, will I get hurt if I do a program that's a little more intense than I'm used to doing now? This is a little set of pictures of National Institutes of Health study that we're doing at USF right now, associated with UC Berkeley and UCSF Medical Center. We are running people who have had strokes, significant strokes, that have led to aphasia, difficulty of speech and language, and oftentimes paresis. One side of their body, usually the right side, has either mild or significant paralysis. Okay. So these are people who have both motor and communicative skill challenges. And we're running them through 12-week high intensity interval training programs where they are working their butts off with body weight training and even weighted vests as we go through the program into later stages. And they are getting themselves up to 80 to 90% of their maximal heart rates during our training sessions. And they have 36 training sessions over 12 weeks, 3 days per week. Okay. We have had 0 adverse events out of those participants. Okay. I've probably been closer to needing to call 911 myself because I got to teach these classes, and we have 3 cohorts. So I teach like 3 classes a day. So it's been fun. I love it. So if they're able to make it through those sorts of challenges and that intense of a training program and have incredible physiological benefit, most people who are community dwelling and are dealing with less significant issues are going to be able to do it as well. So I'd like you to just reconceptualize that it is possible. We can work a little bit harder, and we're going to discuss what that might look like. Okay? Okay, any questions so far? Yes.
So those intense trainings 3 times a week, you do that for the rest of your life?
Ideally. So it's a 12-week program for our participants, but then we have maintenance programs in the community that we send them out to. But certainly, once you ideally get involved with higher intensity training, it kind of becomes a little self-fulfilling thing too. It's like, man, this is kind of fun. This feels good. I like the way exertion makes me feel.
We aired out the room, but now I'm gonna get chilly. So
So yeah, we try to encourage people to not just go back to being a walker or go back to doing, the light weights and not really training as hard. So it really results hopefully in a lifelong pursuit of recognizing the importance of intensity. So our goal is, or what I'd like you to consider, becoming a Jack or Jill of all trades. Right? When you're young, you can be one. All right. I grew up near Boston in the 1980s. I thought I was going to be the next Larry Bird, Kevin McHale type of guy, Danny Ainge. Okay. I was like the tallest kid in my class for a while, but then a lot of other kids passed me. I realized that I did not have the basketball skill of the Boston Celtics, but I focused on playing basketball all the time. That was my kind of sole focus. And it didn't matter because everything else was, again, getting better. I was young. I was improving in all aspects of life, regardless of whether I did or didn't weight train or didn't run 5 miles. I just played basketball. But as we get older, because we've got all these different functions that could go in a bad direction, we can't focus on only one thing. We really need to try to engage in a number of different types of exercise. Okay? And I would call that a Jack or Jill of all trades perspective. Okay. So I'd like to just give you a little bit of a background of why strength, power, and balance are so important to integrate in your program. How many of you currently do regular muscle strength training where by the time you're done with, say, 8 or 10 repetitions of a particular exercise, your muscles are fatigued and you need to stop the set? Okay. How many of you lift weights, but maybe don't get to feeling full exertion and fatigue by 12th repetition? Okay. All right, so good to know there's a lot of strength training kind of literacy in here. We just might ask you to be a little bit more tough on yourself and experience what it's like to lift a weight that by the time you get to your 10th repetition, you're like, okay, I need a break. I'll come back in 3 minutes and do another set of 10 repetitions. Okay, why is that important? Well, there are a few things that happen as we get older. When we get older, we can look at muscle tissue and all of the connective tissue around muscle tissue. On the right side here, this looks like nice, healthy tissue. It's all like, it's like a web. You can imagine that's your blood vessels, or that's the connective tissues that hold the muscle tissue together, or the muscle tissue itself. As we get older, it becomes much more bunched and bundled up. Just we have a tendency to have connective tissues change in their composition. And that's why we get muscle cramps, we get muscle soreness, we have inflammation that just doesn't feel great in our muscles. Even if you just kind of squeeze your leg muscles a little bit, you'll find little points that just feel quite tender and sore, because we're undergoing true microscopic changes in the structure of our muscle, which causes us to just have less health of those muscles. They produce less force, they move through less of a full range of motion, and we're not able to perform nearly as well. So our goal is to try to treat our muscles with a little bit more of a stimulus, well, respect, but also we got to tap, all right, get out of this stage here. Yep. And let's actually lift a weight that requires us to better recruit that muscle. And as we're going through that range of motion, it helps to realign those tissues and make them function better. Okay. So our connective tissue changes and our muscle changes are really important. So we've got two major types of muscle fibers in skeletal muscle. We have type 1 fibers and type 2 fibers. Type 1 fibers are low force, high endurance fibers. Okay. Type 1 muscle fibers are really great for things like strolling, ambling. What's another good word? Strolling, sauntering. Yeah. My type 1 fibers love to saunter, right? And I don't need to use my strength and power fibers, which are my type 2 fibers, if I'm living a life of ambulation. Okay? If we just amble, all we need to do is use our type 1 muscle fibers. Our type 2 muscle fibers are the fibers that produce force, that produce a lot of strength, where we can lift things, we can move things quickly. The thought might be, why do I even need that when I get older? Why do I need type 2 muscle fibers? I can probably, I don't need explosive activities that much as I get older. We can see that as we do get older, the ones that lose mass the most are the type 2 fibers. So that downward line is showing you that the type 2 fibers get smaller, lose protein, whereas the type 1 fibers sort of stay the same. So you'll be ambling just as well as you ambled 10 years ago, okay? But you're not going to be lifting groceries as well as you lifted them 10 years ago. You're not going to recover from a trip or a stumble where you have to move fast using those type 2 muscles as well as you did maybe even 2 or 3 years ago, because they are going down a very slippery slope. The only way to train those type 2 muscle fibers is by doing strength and power exercise. Okay, so that's moving heavy weights and or moving quickly. So that's the concept of muscle power training. How many of you engage in some sort of power training? What do you like to do for power training?
Lift weights.
Lift weights, great. Do you have a set where you lift them quickly?
No, not really.
Okay, so you'll lift heavy weights. That's good. I think that's really good because that helps with the muscle strength side of things. I'm also going to encourage you. How many sets do you typically do?
I do 3 sets of 12.
Okay, 3 sets of 12. I'm going to ask you Do either your third set or add a fourth set and use half the weight, but move as fast as you can through that set. Okay? Teach your muscle to not just move, but move quickly and forcefully. That's how we train those type 2 muscle fibers. Okay? I would encourage everybody to try to incorporate one set of your resistance training much faster than you typically do. Okay? That's where machine resistance training is great because it moves on one plane. You don't have to worry about dropping a weight or anything. You just like move fast. And moving fast like that helps to turn on and maintain those type 2 muscle fibers that you'll need when you're trying to recover from a trip, a stumble, or I don't know, like if Sadie, I have to grab her before a tree falls on her. I want to be able to move quickly to be able to do those things. And the only way we can do that is by training ourselves to still be able to move fast. So again, why are our type 2 fibers important? This is a sculpture, an outdoor sculpture somewhere in, I think it's in Denmark or in the Netherlands, of a guy tripping over like a rock or something. And he's basically flying headfirst toward the ground. He's going to probably break his wrist or conk himself in the head. Type 2 fibers are super important both for planned and unplanned activities. Sometimes we just, I live in just outside of San Francisco. I'm getting to campus. Sometimes I have to cross the street really fast. Okay, that doesn't require endurance. That requires my muscles moving quickly to run across or walk really briskly across a crosswalk. Okay, before a muni bus, they're all psychotic. Runs me. It's not good. That might be an example of playing. How many of you play pickleball? Okay, pickleball is becoming a big thing, right? Pickleball, you're going to be able to move quick. You're going to be really reactive to be able to get to your shot that you're able to hit. That's where type 2 muscle fibers could be super important. And just recovering from everyday life, every so often, we need to move quickly. Who knows why, right? But it happens in life.
Too, right?
And it is most definitely for fall prevention. This guy here, if he had better type 2 muscle fibers, instead of this, he might be able to tap himself because he's able to move his body faster than gravity wants to take him to the ground. We want to be better and faster and more powerful than gravity. Okay? Used to be that bumper sticker, gravity sucks. Yeah. Especially if you're about to fall. That's very bad. So we want to have that ability to react. Questions?
Yeah, with plyometrics or martial arts.
Absolutely. So plyometrics would be doing things like, doesn't need to be jump training, but something that is rapid movement training. What I like to do with participants is just do really fast heel hops. So we're not even jumping. We're just getting up and down off the heels, getting up on our tippy toes, doing this quickly, working the calf muscles, the quad muscles. Calf muscles help us walk fast. The Grim Reaper walks 0.8 meters per second. It's true. It's about 1.2 miles an hour. So if you see somebody out there walking this speed, they might not be around very long. Okay? You want to be able to walk more briskly. So here's another example of a great power exercise. Don't just do one set of resistance training fast. When you're out walking, give yourself 6 or 8 30-second, I'm walking as fast as I possibly can bursts. So you get a 20-minute walk, you're walking for a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles. Intersperse just 30 seconds of your fastest walk possible. That's going to train gait speed muscle power and will really benefit you tremendously. People are like, whoa, burning up the trail. It's kind of fun to do too. And start challenge yourself. How quickly can I get to that telephone pole? Last week, I did in 15 seconds. This week, oh my gosh, I get there in 12 seconds. So you kind of can challenge yourself. It'll be kind of fun to still, it's not just for basketball players or football players. We can challenge ourselves and have fun as well. All right. So, as I said, I'd really like you guys to do one. So, when you're doing resistance training here, okay, do 1 to 3 sets, right? 1 to 3 sets of 6 to 10 repetitions. And I'd like you by the end of your last repetition to feel like I could only do 1 or 2 more before I need a break. You want to feel pretty fatigued, like an 8 out of 10 on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being I am exhausted, I can't move anymore. Then at the end, 1 set of 10 to 30 seconds moving maximal speed with a lighter weight. So if you're lifting 30 pounds for your strength training, drop it down to 10 pounds. And for 30 seconds, move that 10-pound weight as fast as you can. Okay? To really get your muscles turning on those types of muscle fibers. Yeah, people are like, wow, I'm going to tell on a machine over there. And you can just get out, but I always recommend getting out and going, give them a little sniff. Just give the sniff. Always good. All right. Another thing we need to talk about is balance and fall risk reduction, something I've been doing in the city for many years. Published a few articles. We were at 20 different senior centers from 2007 until 2020 around San Francisco. We went online. We've been at probably now 15 senior centers we're back to in San Francisco, running 12-week fall prevention programs. We don't want to fall. This is my mom, unfortunately, with a fractured wrist. Okay, this is a fractured wrist. Most common joint or bone that gets fractured is the distal radius, kind of the bone right beneath the thumb. We put our hand out, can't handle that amount of force, break the wrist. Okay. The ones we worry about, though, are the hip fractures or traumatic head injuries. Those can be potentially either immediately deadly or within a year. 20% of people with a hip fracture don't make it more than a year. Okay. They die within a year, or they have a permanent disabling condition that affects their life for the rest of their life. Okay. So we want to stay away from falls as much as possible. And we know that there's a lot of stuff out there that causes us to fall, right? We're in winter now. You guys occasionally get some snow up here, right? A few flakes. Okay. Not good conditions to be out doing your brisk walking in if it's snowing or if it's icy in the morning when you're out doing your walk around Lake of the Pines or you're out at Dark Horse. Big golf course, by the way, like Dark Horse, fun place to play. Tough course, very difficult. So outdoor conditions and weather, house clutter, Sadie, wherever she is she's still in this room. Okay, she's still here. Sadie, she's got a bunch of little squeaky toys and stuff. Who knows? I could easily trip over those. So we've got stuff in our homes that we need to watch out for. Sometimes lighting's an issue. Sometimes we don't have enough adaptive devices that have been put in important places like the bathroom, the tub, the shower, etc. So there's risk factors out there all over the place. Okay, within our body, just having arthritis. You got arthritis in your right hip. It changes the way you distribute your weight and you move, which inherently puts you at a greater risk of sustaining a fall. If you have vision or hearing impairments, greater risk for falls. If you're on certain medications, can lead you to fall, whether it's interaction with other meds or those meds themselves. I mean, who's got hypertension? If you don't mind revealing, it's fine if you don't. Anyone with hypertension? Okay, so there are a number of medications for hypertension that can make you dizzy when you go from sitting or lying down to standing up. You kind of get up and you get that head rush because the medication creates a short period of low blood pressure, not enough blood to your brain, so you get disoriented. Okay? That short burst of disorientation, if you're in the wrong situation, can lead to a fall. Really, really, really bad. Okay? Poor nutrition, I would tell you guys, the big 3, focus on protein, okay? Focus on vitamin D and focus on calcium. As older adults, protein, vitamin D, calcium, absolutely musts as far as nutrients to monitor, because protein helps you maintain that muscle mass again. Also, good bone mass. Bone is partially made of protein. The calcium sits on top of a protein matrix, basically like the frame of a house is protein. Then you lay the drywall, which is your calcium. Calcium is super important. We lose it more rapidly as we get older, and we acquire it less effectively. And vitamin D, we think vitamin D is only for bone health. Vitamin D turns on those type 2 muscle fibers, those fast muscle fibers. If you were in good vitamin D status, your type 2 muscle fibers work better. So those are the 3 biggies, and many people are not on great dietary sort of protocols. And then finally, we got to work on exercise, the things that we know can help us. Let's think about a little scenario. We get Jim, he's 82 years old, he's hypertensive, he's diabetic. So maybe he doesn't see so well, and he's having some sensation issues in his feet associated with neuropathy. Okay? Here he is. He's a guy. Every so often, 3 times a night, he's got to go from his bedroom to the bathroom. Right? That's just a reality of life often. He's on a medication that might make him a little bit dizzy. Okay? A hypertensive medication. And he's got himself a Sadie as well, who has little toys. At some point, that whole connection of risk factors will lead to him likely having a fall in the middle of the night trying to get to the restroom. Okay? Our secretary in the Department of Kinesiology at USF, when I started back there, she lost her mom because that exact thing happened when she fell. She fell down the stairs around the hallway to get to the bathroom. She lost her balance and literally went down a flight of stairs, and that was it for Trudy's mom. Okay. Not good. So these scenarios are not great. And because we only have 3 defense systems against falls, our inner ears help us tell us kind of where we are in terms of orientation to our environment, our eyes, and the sensation in our feet. All 3 of those systems, very small systems, get worse as we get older. So we still have all those risk factors. A very nerdy researcher once had a day where she didn't have much to do. Mary Tinetti in 1986, she published a paper about risk factors for falls and came up with 160 different risk factors. And that was before, oh boy, phones. Oh, let's see how the Patriots down from Foxborough, Mass. We're back. I'm just saying, we were gone for 5 years, but prepared for another 20 years of New England Patriots. I know it's frustrating. I'm very excited. How the Patriots do? Whoa! Trip over something. So, I mean, there are so many distractions and risks for falling. And then those systems, you all know that your vision isn't what it used to be. Even if you don't have a true eye pathology, my vision isn't nearly as good as it used to be. And I'm sure you all can relate to that too. Your inner ear. How many of you have had a bout of vertigo in your life? Okay, about half of us do. Okay, vertigo, no fun. Everything starts spinning, kind of feel a bit barfy. If that happens at the wrong time, as you're trying to cross the street or even just get up out of bed, that can very easily precipitate a fall. And does anybody have sensation issues with their feet or lower extremity? Can totally tell that affects how well you sense what kind of surface you're walking on. Is this a safe, slippery, soft surface, hard surface? Can I rely on this surface? It's a little more difficult to detect those things as we get older. And those sensory, even if you don't have neuropathy, if you don't have very flexible ankles and hips, you're not sensing your environment as effectively because all of the receptors that tell us about movement aren't moving and therefore aren't turning on and talking to our brain. So we need to enhance our capabilities so that these little prevention systems work as well as they possibly can. Okay? There's minimal evidence that just walking or doing cardiovascular exercise reduces our risk for falls. Okay? So how many of you guys would say that your cornerstone of or a major cornerstone of your training program is walking. Okay. Fantastic. Walking helps do things like maintain weight management, blood glucose management, blood pressure management, makes us feel good. We're out in nature, etc. There's never been a research study that says walking in and of itself reduces the risk for falls. Because generally, if somebody does have a risk fall because of a bad hip, they're now walking with a compromised gait that will actually even increase their risk for a fall the more they walk. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. And unfortunate stretching. Great to stretch. Ooh, hamstrings. I'm going to stretch these hamstrings. Oh, that feels good. Stretching my hamstrings. Good for me. Definitely will help to protect my low back and enhance just my range of motion. Not really having an effect on reducing my fall risk. The things that do make me have much more effective recovery when I lose my balance: muscle strength and power training. Keep the muscles strong. Practice both static balance, where we're not moving, and it's not as simple as I'm standing on one foot as I brush my teeth. I have never talked to somebody who said, "Oh, Dr. Chris, my bad fall happened when I was standing on one foot. My bad fall happened when I was bumped into by somebody. My bad fall happened when I get distracted. I was carrying something and tripped over something." Falls generally happen during movement. And if we train static balance, we should train it with movement. So put yourself in a balance challenge stance and practice keeping your balance while your body's doing something else. Maybe we're reaching in different directions. Maybe we're bending in different directions. Maybe we're rotating our body. These are the sorts of things that will meaningfully help to train our static balance when our feet aren't moving. Dynamic balance. We're constantly shifting our weight. We're constantly having to recover if you get bumped into. This is dynamic balance, where we actually move our feet and reestablish balance somewhere else. That's important to train, okay? Which is not at all trained standing in one place, brushing your teeth. Not saying that's a horrible thing to do, but don't make that the only cornerstone of your balance training. We need to come at it with kind of a kitchen sink perspective. Gait enhancement. Okay, those of you that like to walk, not only do I want you to do 30 seconds of fast walking, I want you to do 30 seconds of steady walking. Okay, where it's either stepping with high knees, it's sidestepping with high knees, it's doing narrow steps and wide steps, where we're training our body to be able to effectively use a bunch of different walking strategies while keeping balance. Because you never know what environment you'll be in that makes you have to all of a sudden get into a narrow or sideways gait pattern, where you might have to accelerate, decelerate. So practice speeding up and slowing down. Gait enhancement, that's what we call that. So we need to work on enhancing our gait, not just walking, but being mindful of our gait and letting our body experience different types of stepping patterns that then you might utilize when you're out there in the world. Okay. Hopefully this is giving you an idea that it's not just doing the same exact thing every day. We get a lot. It's Jack, Jill of all trades. You know, I try to impress on my students. Training older adults should be engaging and fun, because there's so many different things we can focus on. We can create some really enjoyable and dynamic training programs. And that's not even to bring in the cognitive challenges too. Oh yes, as you're doing your high knee walks, name everything in a gymnasium that begins with the letter B. Big ball, Biff the buff bodybuilder. You just kind of do all of these things to integrate some cognitive challenges too. So it's, yeah, I hope that gets through to my students as much as possible. And really important is to just meet people where they're at. I don't ever want to
That's funny.
shrink it and pink it for people that don't need it. Give too wimpy of a training program for somebody who is highly functional, because that's not going to benefit them. That's kind of a waste of time. But I also don't want to provide too challenging of a program for somebody who is either going to become anxious or potentially even hurt engaging in something that's just not appropriate for them and is too high of a challenge. So at the senior center in San Francisco, we had a bunch of different participants. This guy, Harry, is going through a mobility ladder, tracing his hand along a wall, just as an external point of contact, because he was assessed to be quite unstable. Whereas Judy and Virginia are walking across open space, shifting their eyes as they walk, without any safety assistive device nearby, because their assessment demonstrated that they would be safe doing for them what would be a challenging exercise. So we always want to be within kind of that level of slight to moderate challenge without worrying about safety. Okay, that's the big key. And okay, so questions for a couple of minutes. Yes,
Is strength training possible with rotator cuff issues?
absolutely.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, no doubt about it. Even shoulder strengthening. The big thing with rotator cuff is if we go above kind of parallel to the floor, that's where we really start to get into the zone where we've got pain, we've got irritation,
Right.
and we start to really squish that space.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Exactly. So I would encourage, a very good exercise is the thumbs up exercise. Instead of straight out or to the front, 45 degrees, keep the shoulder blade down, and you function on just coming up, so the thumb being even with your eyes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Also, lower back exercises. Generally, people who have rotator cuff issues can handle something like a bent over row or a seated row machine
Okay,
very well, because you want to stay away from double or even single arm
Okay.
overhead pressing.
okay,
But there's a lot of other stuff we can do.
okay.
We can even do things like wall planks, do a single arm wall plank, working on scapular stability with, again, your hand not way up here, but just out here. We are isometrically strengthening
Okay,
the shoulder complex.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff we can do, even in the context of whether it's an upper body impairment, hip arthritis, knee arthritis, we can still find ways to focus on maintaining muscle strength and muscle power despite those things.
Right.
Most everyone's got stuff they're dealing with.
Right.
But hopefully it doesn't lead to someone saying you need to be treated with kids' gloves. Okay. That's just no fun. Really? Want me to lift this thing? Want to take this little like wimpy yellow band that within the first couple of days of using your yellow band exercise, it snaps because it can't handle your force production. No. Okay, other questions?
Question
Wait.
based off that, because I hear this fairly often, is I can't lift weights because of my shoulder, my knee, my this, I can't do that. I need to just be really careful because I do ask people often, I'm like, I want you to lift heavier, and they're like, oh, no, not heavier, because I really need this. So maybe speak to that fear that a lot of people have, but in themselves.
Yes, or exacerbating an injury that already exists.
Yeah.
Right. So the one piece of research and information I can absolutely share that has been replicated many times in research done on people with arthritis is that the worst thing you can do if you have arthritis is stop exercising or exercising minimally and wimpily. The less you exercise, the less the muscles are going to be able to support and stabilize those joints that have arthritis in them. The less movement of whatever remaining synovial fluid, joint fluid, the more that fluid moves through that joint space, the better in nourishing the tissues The more you have movement through that joint space, the warmer we're able to create that joint, which allows it to move through a fuller range of motion with less pain. We would just recommend that you find the range of motion that is pain-free. So perhaps for your chair stands, okay, let's imagine that this is a little bit lower. I don't have pain when I'm at this angle with my knees. So I'm going to load up. I'm going to put on that 30-pound weighted vest or whatever. For me, I grab a couple of 30-pound dumbbells, okay, hold them sort of in a goblet position. And now I am strength training
Oh,
through my non-painful range of motion. And then what I'm going to do when I'm not fully weighted is I'm going to unweight myself. So unload the lower bodies by putting some weight on my upper body and focus on getting lower. And so I'm training the range of motion in a weight assisted manner and training my strength in a loaded manner through a pain-free range of motion. So it kind of comes to you determining what is the workable range of motion, and don't be wimpy when you're working through that workable range of motion. Still say this is the time where I'm going to be producing force, or maybe this is where I'm going to do my really fast repetitions for 30 seconds because I still want muscle power to be trained, even if it's in a restricted range of motion. Okay. And ideally, spend some time at generations, have some tissue work done to help you move through a larger range of motion. Again, the muscle and connective tissue can become much more healthy, whether it's with things like using a foam roller or getting massage or a massage gun, as long as you're not going mental with it and just like seek and destroy your body. My wife cannot stand, like, I like to, get my wife back and neck massages all the time, but she gets mad at me because I always defer back to sort of sport massage, which I was trained at, and she just started, oh, you're killing me. I'm like, sorry. So I have to be very gentle with her, even though I just want to like dig. Convince myself, doghouse is bad, don't dig. But just treating your tissue well is going to allow you to hopefully move through a larger range of motion as you take care of the connective tissue, the muscle tissue. But movement is absolutely essential. So find that range of motion and then don't be wimpy with it. That's where you're loading up and you're doing real resistance training to work on strength and work on power. Okay, other questions? All right, so hopefully we've got a thought that maybe I want to think about a few changes to my training program. Do any of you think that maybe you could tweak your training program a little bit based on what we talked about today? Okay, now, what is a fun opportunity? Again, we talked about earlier, it's fun to challenge yourself and not just leave the challenging stuff for the young people. We like to compete too. So Wendy and I have talked about doing a February, 4 weeks long, a February 4-week to better strength, power, and balance challenge at Generations. Okay. This is something I've done. I started it back in the COVID years with a number of Olympic Club in San Francisco. They've got tons of great athletes. Like they have Olympians coming out of the Olympic Club. They weren't doing a lot for their older members, and they had a huge, massive number of older members. So I said, let's get your older members competing against each other and doing a month-long challenge where they're working on their balance, they're working on their strength, they're working on their power. And we kind of got them into feeling like competitive. Last year, Olympic Club competed against Washington Athletic Club up in Seattle, Bellevue Club in Bellevue, Washington, Athletic Club of Columbus, Ohio, and I can't remember the name of the other club, but it is in DC. It's like some weird name. And they all had older adults in their clubs go through assessment train for a month, and then we collect post-assessment data. And individual people at each club were crowned the club champion. And then the best average improvement was kind of like the club champion, which ended up being Washington Athletic Club up in Seattle. They got the biggest percent improvement last year. So we would like to do a 4 weeks to better strength, power, and balance challenge here. What does that entail? Well, I've got on Vimeo, which is a video hosting site. We'll have the link to how to get there. I've got 18 different video sequences. Some of them are strength and power sequences. Some of them are balance sequences. Some of them are gait sequences. Some of them are mobility for joints, making sure hips, ankles, torso, shoulders move as well as they can. And we even have some weird sensory things. I demonstrated this before, really key for balance improvement, getting your inner ears, your eyes, and the sensation of your feet to be able to work together to help you know where you are in space and reduce your fall risk. Okay. So we come up with a short sequence of usually 3 or 4 videos, 4 days per week. They will vary. One day might be focused on strength and power, another day more on balance, another day more on joint mobility. Over 4 days per week across the month, about 20 minutes of video guided training. And we will do an assessment here before the program starts and after the program ends to determine percent improvement on 3 different assessments. Our assessments are assessment of lower body strength, the 30-second chair stand test, where you stand up and sit down out of a chair as many times as you can in 30 seconds. A dynamic balance assessment, the timed up and go, where you get out of a chair, walk around a cone rapidly, go back, and sit down. And then a functional reach test where you're static and you're reaching forward as far as you can while keeping your balance and standing back up. And we'll look at pre-test and post-test, and whoever has the highest average percent improvement gets bragging rights. Okay? It's always fun. It's always fun. Bragging rights and maybe some fun generation stuff too. And I don't know, I'll bring, what can I bring from USF? Let's say something signed by Bill Russell, but he's not with us anymore. I'll bring some USF stuff. USF, tote bag, ball cap, something like that. So a really, really fun way to engage again in these Jack Jill of all trades sort of focus. Wendy and I talked about days that would work for an assessment. We thought keeping time kind of at the right schedule. We'll do an assessment a week from Thursday, the 29th. Assessments will only take about 5 to 8 minutes per individual. We can do 3 at a time. So within an hour, from 4 to 5, we could literally crank through a whole room of participants. Get your pre-test data, and then on February 1st, you will have already, we'll send you a whole nuts and bolts instruction thing. You'll have access to these videos, okay? These videos through Vimeo, which are $39.99, forever access. So once this month is over, if you want to, it's not Brad Pitt, it's me. Together. But you can put it on mute, okay? And even blur the screen a little bit. But there are still people who do these videos all the time. To supplement, I would say, whatever you're doing here or out in the world with your walking program and other things, continue to do, okay? Not asking you to replace all of your current activities, but adding these very targeted areas of fitness and a true focus on them where we're working 4 days a week on these short time periods of exercise will help you tremendously. And then we retest sometime probably the first week of March, and we have a happy hour. Reveal the winner. It'll be great. Is there a good brewery nearby?
It makes sense.
Fantastic. We'll have a happy hour at Generations and reveal the winners, have some prizes. It's just, I think it would be a lot of fun. So I'll encourage you all to give some thought to that. Also, weekly, Wendy and I will be on a 2-minute Zoom that we'll record, send email all, and it'll be like motivational, little motivational things. So like the videos, a whole list of videos here. We'll send little motivational things where I'll say things like 20 letters, 10 words. If it is to be, it is up to me.
Yes.
Learned that one when I started college. The provost or president of the college said that. I was like, whoa, that's deep. I'm sure Wendy's got some good ones. Yeah, I'm sure other exercise leaders here, generations, can come up with some good motivational stuff. So we'll kind of stay in touch. I'll continue to guide you guys, okay? We're 2 weeks into the program. I'd like you to advance from if you started beginner, so we'll let you know based on your results of your assessment if you should be doing beginner, intermediate, advanced. And we'll say 2 weeks in, try the next level. See how the next level works for you. That might be a bit more of a complex exercise. That might be a little bit of a faster paced exercise. That might be a little bit of an externally loaded exercise. But you progress through because your body, ideally, even as little as 2 weeks, will start getting better. So we want to continue to ensure that we're challenging it. We don't go from challenging to where the last 2 weeks of the program you're not really benefiting. We want to push it all the way through. Okay? Questions? Yes.
So are these videos that we could log on to at any time?
Correct.
Okay.
As long as you have some sort of internet connection.
Okay.
Okay, you could be, I don't know, out in desolation wilderness with your Starlink uplink thing, and you can do your 4-week to better strength, power, and balance challenge exercises. Yes, they are streaming, available. I believe you could download them. They're just big files, so if you wanted to put them all on your laptop, it would take up a lot of space. But, and again, evergreen, meaning they will always be available until, Vimeo shuts down someday. I don't know why it would. That might be a problem, but they've been up there for years, and I anticipate they will stay there for years.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Yes,
Do you have equipment at home to do it?
a chair, maybe a little bit of external resistance if your body can do it. Doesn't need to be dumbbells. Could even be basic household items. It's funny when I go and run my classes virtually during winter and summer breaks. Sometimes, I ran a class on my way up here to visit Wendy about a month ago, and I stopped in Davis and I did an exercise class with my older adults from the Presidio in San Francisco with, I found some planters with plants in them. I just did planter exercises and just find random stuff. So you don't need any heavy duty equipment, correct? Even bands might work. I would just encourage you to make sure that you're identifying an amount of resistance that you feel like your muscles are working and not just, oh, this is way too easy.
And then too, like Katie, one of our instructors here, she does a mobility and balance class twice a week. Once right before this class at 3:00 on Tuesdays and on Friday mornings. And she will be integrating some of this stuff into her class. And I think Phyllis will probably sneak some stuff into her classes too. So we're trying to get some of that stuff into the classes here.
That's how I was just gonna add, we're in the silver sneaker, silver strength program, 3 days a week.
Right.
How does this work with that? Did we come in earlier and do this and then do the class?
These are meant to also be able to be done at home on your own time. I would, I'm a big proponent of making life an exercise. Try not just saying, this is my hour in the day where I exercise, but trying to integrate exercise at different times of the day in different ways. So I would recommend that since this is a program that can be done at home, you say, I'm going to take this 25 to 30-minute period at home, and I'm going to go through my 4-week challenge exercises. I even encourage you again, when you're just out walking, walk 30 seconds fast in different bursts. When you're carrying groceries, carry them in one hand only with your hand away from your body a little bit. When you're standing in line at the grocery store, practice some of your dynamic balance exercises that you learn through the videos. When I walk up flights of stairs, I do weird walking up stair patterns. I feel like any opportunity to experience a different type of movement, I do. So I would recommend throw it in there another part of your day. And make life an exercise.
Yeah.
In the silver speaker class, and Bill adds some of these things too. And you can add it in by picking up a heavier weight.
Well, that's, yeah.
Well, I thank you all for your interest today in hearing the talk. I hope you're interested in doing this challenge. It will be fun. I think you will do some exercises that you have not done before, because there are a lot of different ways to train balance, train strength, and train power. And I think you'll make a lot of progress in February. February, short month, but a month of adaptation, strength, power, and balance. So thank you all. Really. And when you'll be taking signups for people who are interested,
Yeah.
getting you guys scheduled for next Thursday's assessments. Again,
Thank you, Chris.
in this room, simple. You're welcome.
Great amount of knowledge and stuff we could all use. On the logistical side, there are now 3 classes that are called the same thing. Next Thursday, one at 4, one at 4:30, one at 5. There's 12 spots in each one. It is the assessment, not the class. So if you would like to do it, you can either go on your phone and sign up for one of those slots, or you can stop off at Brian at the front and sign up for one of those spots. That will tell us that you're going to do the program, and then he will send you the link to be able to buy the videos through him, not through us. If you guys are going to do the program, but the assessment will be signed up.
Yeah.
At.
And I'll be here probably with a couple other people running you guys through the assessments again. Easily done within 5, 8, 10 minutes. So it's not, you don't have to be here that full hour. Just sign up for one of the slots that Wendy's put together and come ready for strength and balance assessment.